Welcome back to Just Another Melting Channel. In sand casting and making molds, a lot of times people will use straight up pieces of wood or a paint stirring stick to strike off the excess sand on the top of their mold. What I've noticed with me is in the past trying to use that, it's really difficult because the Petrobond sticks to the stick or it doesn't really dig its way through all of that really condensed and rammed sand. I was watching an old Foundryman video, and if you watch melting and casting videos, I guarantee you know who old Foundryman is. You probably don't need me to tell you. But old Foundryman uses basically an old saw blade. Watching one of Perry's videos, he basically modeled up and 3D printed and cast something with a serrated edge and then a flat edge to even things out. What's the importance of this particular tool? Well, the serrated edge to me seems to cut through that really dense stuff at the start, and then I can use the flat edge to smoothen it out, make it even, whatever you need to do. Now here's what drives me nuts. I spent months looking for a saw blade to be used as an impromptu strike tool. Couldn't find one. So I emailed Perry and I said, hey, would you be able to 3D print this for me? And he said, yes, I can do that. 2 days before that came in the mail, I found a saw blade that would have worked. I've been using that, but truthfully, I really wanted to cast Perry's strike tool. Mainly because when you look at these two, right, the unevenness of this edge and this bit over here, I'm not a fan. I want something that's symmetrical and uniform and whatever other words you can use to describe what this is by comparison to this. Now, I was watching a video from Scrap to Cast. He did this big Indiana Jones opening, and I'll link that in the description and at the end of the video. And it made me start thinking about melting videos in general. And I thought a lot of us kind of follow the same format, but I started to wonder what would happen if melting and casting videos were made like a very cheap, low budget 1950s, 1960s educational film.
Well, you look sad there. Why the long face?
Well, I'm just so tired of using these paint stirring sticks to try to strike off my molds.
Well, maybe you should order a strike tool pattern from Perry at swdweeb.
Well, gee willikers, sir! I hadn't even thought of that! I'm so excited! It just came in the mail! Check it out!
Congratulations, buddy. So what are you gonna do next?
Well, I think I'm gonna cast it, sir. Should we do this? Come on! Come on! Come on!
Now don't get ahead of yourself there, sport. Before we pour any molten metal, we need to make sure we have all of our ducks in a row. Now we have the pattern, but we still need a couple more things if we're going to cast this in metal. We need a flask, which is the casting box that will contain our sand and mold. And of course we also need our casting sand. We'll use this oil-bonded sand, commonly called Petrobond, today. The first thing we're going to do is assemble the pattern. Perry uses a key system for his prints, so that way you don't deal with messy glue. Good job, champ. Uh-oh, it looks like your flask might be a little too small. Can you think of a solution? Now that's thinking inside the box. Let's get the pattern and runner system in place now, big guy. And don't forget the gate. We need this to get the metal from the runner to the pattern. Atta boy, sport. You'll want to put some gloves on for this. Oil-bonded sand can be quite messy on the hands, and we certainly don't want that. Once that's done, let's get this covered in some parting powder, champ. The parting powder keeps the sand from sticking to the pattern. It also helps keep the sand you ram here in the drag from sticking to the sand you'll ram in the cope later. Let's sift in a light layer of facing sand. This breaks up clumps and lets the sand into the smaller details of the pattern. then we'll throw in a couple heaping scoops and start packing it in with our sand rammer. Remember, firm up the sand with your fingertips, but don't compress it just yet. You don't want to create layers before you ram, or your mold could fall apart. Use the peen end of your rammer first.
Are you sure I'm doing it right, mister?
Of course you are, you little rascal. Would I let you do this wrong? Now that the sand is pretty compact, we can use the blunt end of the rammer to push it all down and flatten everything out. Now you need to strike off that excess sand from the top. Otherwise, the drag won't sit flat when you turn it over. Not bad, buddy boy. It's a good thing you had that cookie sheet to hold the sand in. Now what do you say we clean the excess sand off the table? After all, a clean workspace is a happy workspace. Now we're going to clean up a little around the edges of the pattern to try to give ourselves a bit of a parting line. That's mighty good placement of the surge trap, Slugger, but don't forget about the tapered sprue. We're going to skip ahead since we saw this already. Is that okay with you, Superstar? Alrighty, Buckaroo. Remember, don't wiggle the sprue when you pull it out. We'll drop some parting powder down the sprue so the sand doesn't stick when we strike the mold. Uh-oh, it looks like you're blocking the view, Knuckle Dragger. Well, wowzers, son. It looks like you forgot to cut your offset pouring basin. Why don't you do that now before you forget? The offset pouring basin gives us a bigger target for pouring our molten metal. We also need to cut in a ridge. That's the part that slows down the metal and gives it a chance to flow into the sprue nice and easy. We need to radius that ridge. Not having sharp corners helps keep air from getting sucked down the sprue and into the casting. Good job. Now, separate the flask and let's pull the patterns out. Uh-oh, it looks like someone didn't realize their camera died, and it seems possible that the same someone accidentally knocked out their entire sand mold while laughing in a high-pitched voice and had to quickly redo the ramming of the cope and the drag while waiting for their camera to charge.
Gee golly, Mr. Narrator, I think it's time for me to put this back together.
Not so fast, Numbskull. Looks like you forgot to take the surge trap out of the sand.
Wow, you just saved me from up my cast.
Looks like we dodged a bullet there, eh, sport? And if you can dodge a bullet, you can dodge a ball.
Let's put it together, mister. There's our test clothes, mister. Let's take it apart and see if anything came loose.
Well, that sounds like a swell idea, Chief. It looks like some loose sand is in the mold. You don't want that, so use your squeeze bulb to gently blow it out.
Oh no! One of the teeth came loose, mister.
I said gently blow it out, Chowderhead.
That's not a very nice thing to say.
I'm not here to be nice, Numbskull. I'm here to narrate.
I can't wait to get the furnace going.
Now hold on, Big Panda. Don't you think you need to change clothes?
What's wrong with the way I'm dressed now, mister?
With your skin exposed like that, why the heat coming off the furnace or crucible could burn the hair right off your chicken legs. You should put on some PPE just to be safe.
You're right, mister. I need to be safer.
It'd be nice if you needed to be smarter.
You think this is enough PPE, mister?
Nope, you still need a respirator
A respirator? Why would I need a respirator?
Don't you ever interrupt me when I'm talking again, turd.
I'm
Ask me any more ridiculous questions.
I'm sorry, mister.
Why don't you clear the table off now? There's a lot of things in the way and they could catch fire.
Gee, mister, I didn't think about all of that. I'll get that done right now. I think I'm ready to go now, mister. What do you say?
I don't think so, Tiny Tim. Why, you still need a change out of those tennis shoes.
What about my shoes?
Well, what happens if the metal spills and you burn your oversized clown feet off?
Wow, mister, I didn't even think of that. I should go inside and get some leather boots.
Well, now that you've done most of your PPE, let's load the crucible with aluminum and get that furnace fired up. And don't forget to open up the choke, Pooch. This allows the propane to mix with air and create that jet roar. While the metal melts, let's go preheat our ingot molds.
Why did I have to do that, mister?
Well, fam, you want to drive out any residual moisture in the mold, otherwise you'll get a steam explosion.
I never knew that, mister. Thanks.
Don't forget, Snuggle Bear, keep that sprue full, otherwise you might get porosity in your casting. And any excess metal you have should be poured into those ingot molds now. Well, it looks like you forgot to weigh down your cope, and some metal flashing occurred. That's not very turnt, squad. Alrighty there. Nice and easy, Ace. Would you look at that? Seems like it turned out just fine.
It actually came out, mister.
Well, of course it did, you elbow wrinkle.
I can't believe it.
I knew you could do it. Let's get it cleaned up now. We'll talk about cutting off the runner and sprue and all the other tools we use some other time.
Well, geez, mister.
Did you take off the respirator, Einstein?
Sorry. Well, I think I successfully did it, mister. I made myself an aluminum striking tool based off of a 3D printed pattern from swdweeb. Now it's going to be easier for me to strike off my molds. Thanks, mister.
Well, I'll be, Tiger. It sure looks like we had a successful casting today. I'm very proud of the work you put. Okay, you know what? I can't do this anymore. I'm sick of the narrator voice and I'm sick of that high voice. I hope you guys liked the video. Feel free to like and subscribe if you haven't already. I am close to being at 100 subscribers, finally. And I know for some of you that's probably not a big deal. For me it is. I am pretty pleased with how this turned out. And I hope the video was funny, entertaining. This has been Just Another Melt on Just Another Melting channel. Be a good human, stay safe, and I'll see you on the next video.